What is up, YouTube? This is Willis and Derek back again for another episode of the All of the Above Fantasy Football Podcasts. And today it's, we're 2 weeks into preseason since the last time we've done it. And we have plenty of things to talk about, some questions that we'll get to, and another Who Would You Rather game. So, Derek, if you'd like to go ahead and kick it off with some of the news that we can talk about, go for it.
Well, the biggest story obviously has been the continuing of the Maurice Jones-Drew holdout. I believe it was yesterday it was reported that he's open to a trade because apparently he didn't like what the owner of the Jags said to him, saying, the train's about to leave, so go ahead and get off of it or something like that. But then today he said that he was also open to returning to the Jaguars, and he's confident that things will work out. But if you think he's going to get traded, where do you think he's going to go?
I don't think he's going to get traded because I don't think that the front office for the Jags would give him the satisfaction. Mm-hmm. If he's going to get traded, I think it's going to be to one of these two teams probably. I think it's either going to be the Jets because, Rex Ryan, that team needs to be in the spotlight. They could trade him, Tim Tebow.
Yep.
Jags want him, bring in some fans. They could use that. But I don't think he's going to get traded. And the other team would be the Redskins because their backfield is horrible. And if you know anything about the Redskins front office, they're not afraid to pay for somebody.
Exactly.
So,
I was just about to say that.
Yeah, the trade would have to be insane. They would have to get like a couple of good players and like a second or third round pick at best, and I just don't see it happening at all.
Yeah. Honestly, I think he's being a little unreasonable about the whole thing. He has no leverage because as a Steelers fan, I can say about the whole Mike Wallace thing, a bunch of fans have been mad saying, oh, well, we should cut Mike Wallace because he's being, a douchebag about the whole thing. But technically, he's not under contract. So
MJD is.
Yeah, MJD is. So he really has nothing to go on. But I personally think that he's going to be back with the Jaguars just because, like you said, they're not going to give him the satisfaction of leaving and going to another team because either way, that other team's still going to have to pay him what he wants.
Yeah, I don't think anybody's willing to do that.
Exactly. But where would you draft Maurice Jones-Drew if you were drafting today?
Well, in the other draft that we just did, which will probably go up before this, they'll probably be within a day or two of each other, I think. But I took MJD with the first pick because it auto-picked it for me because I wasn't able to make my first two selections.
Right.
Because I tried to record it from my own end, and my laptop wasn't having any of it. So I ended up with, him and then Trent Richardson, which is not too good to start off with because it's two question mark running backs. But I was able to get some depth anyway. But beyond that, I would not take him in the first round. I would not take him. I would rather have Matt Forte, Darren McFadden, AP now, probably right after somewhere around that range. I mean, I think he's going to play this year, obviously.
So you'd say mid to late second round?
Probably at the earliest.
Yeah.
But I mean, I would just even go against my draft strategy if I had the 8th or 9th pick in a 12-team league and he was the best running back available. I would probably take Calvin Johnson or a quarterback there instead of taking MJD.
Yeah, it's a safer option. The other holdout story, which is a lot more positive, is Mike Wallace reportedly will be joining the Steelers in camp this weekend and will be signing his franchise tender. Now that we know that Mike Wallace will be there, I mean, he's still got to learn the playbook and everything, new offensive coordinator, new offense. Where would you draft Mike Wallace?
Probably not as late as some other people just because he's going in late. I would probably take him, I don't know, maybe he's in the top 10 receivers, I think. Yep. They're not going to run the ball successfully, so I think that having that deep threat would be helpful. So, I mean, I probably wouldn't take him as late as a bunch of other people would.
Yeah, I would. If he was there in the late third, it'd be really tough to pass him up. I mean, he's still going to be really good, I think. I mean, he's not going to be, well, I say maybe a little bit better than he was last year because he started off really strong, but once Antonio Brown broke out, his targets went down, his receptions went down. But speaking of Antonio Brown, do you think this will help or hurt Antonio Brown in fantasy?
I don't really think it'll. I think both of them will outweigh the other ones. I think there's going to be times when, the play is obviously going to be designed for Mike Wallace, but he's going to be cut off deep, and so that'll help him in that sense. But I also think it's going to take away specific plays designed for Antonio Brown. I think it helps him more than it hurts him, but I don't think it's going to help him as much as a lot of people think it will. I still like Antonio Brown though as a receiver. I think he's going to be good this year too.
Yep. I actually got Antonio Brown in a trade in our league, which I was very happy with. I had to give up a little bit more than I wanted to. I mean, I had to give up Ryan Williams, which I knew I was going to have to do, and Stevie Johnson. But I think my team looks a lot better with Antonio Brown on it. But moving on to Darren McFadden, who's looked pretty good so far in preseason. There are talks that he's going to be the goal line back also. I don't know what you think of this. I personally don't think it's a good idea because if you watch the Arizona game, he was stuffed twice at the goal line. And plus, I think he's going to get plenty of yardage out in the field anyway just because he's so explosive if he can stay healthy. And he's already an injury risk anyway, and why keep putting him in situations, where he could get hurt?
I actually kind of like him at the goal line. He's big enough to be a goal line back. Of course, there's that injury risk there, but I think a lot of the times they'll bring him in as a goal line thing, and then maybe the first play they'll play action out of it, and the running back's always a target when you play action. So
yep.
He can definitely catch the ball out of the backfield. So I do like him at the goal line actually. Compared to some other people, so.
Okay. Keeping in the running back department, there's a few teams where the running back situation isn't very pretty, to say the least. I guess we'll start off with the Redskins. We've got Tim Hightower, who's coming off an ACL tear. Evan
supposed to play this Saturday, I think. They play the Colts, so he's supposed to get some playing time.
Yep, and the other two running backs actually will not be playing, from what I've heard. Evan Royster and Roy Halou. What do you think about that whole situation?
I don't think that one is as bad as some of the others we have on the list. I think whichever guy is going to start, I think is a decent flex play if you really need it that week. The only thing is you don't know who's going to start and how long they're going to be in. But Shanahan's always been able to run the ball very well, and I think that team can run the ball. I kind of like Hightower. He's going later than both of the other guys, I think, which is kind of surprising in like average draft positions and stuff, like at least according to Yahoo and ESPN, I think. So I like Hightower as a late pick. Like, I was able to draft him, and I may have to start in week 1 because of my good friend Mr. Ryan Matthews, who I've already made my first bold prediction wrong about. So, I don't think that one is as bad as some of the other ones, honestly.
Yeah. Funny story is I told Willis that this is going to be the year that you don't have any injuries on your team because he had Kenny Britt, Jamal Charles, and Tim Hightower go down with ACL tears. And what happened?
First carry, Ryan Matthews breaks his collarbone out until week 3. So that's great.
Moving on to the Steelers running back situation, Rashard Mendenhall also coming off an ACL tear, recently activated from the PUP list. Personally, I don't think he's going to play until after the bye week, which is week 4. Initially, I thought Isaac Redmond would be a solid flex play, but I don't know if we're going to be able to run the ball that well because our O-line hasn't looked that great at all.
I won't be
preseason.
drafting any Pittsburgh running backs, I don't think, unless I can get Mendenhall like really, really late, because
Yeah.
I think the value there could be decent, especially if you can get him late. But I don't plan on drafting any of those guys probably.
Plus, Isaac Redmond's also hurt. He's having hip issues, and he did an interview saying that it's probably gonna bother him for the rest of the season,
Yeah.
which is major red flag there.
Something you don't really want to say.
That, along with a bad offensive line, I personally wouldn't, like you said, I wouldn't draft Redmond at all. But I would, if Mendenhall's there and your last 2 or 3 rounds, I would take a gamble on him there.
Dwyer's not bad in like a 6-team or 20-team league.
That's true.
I don't think that's too bad.
That's true.
You're going to need all the depth you can get. So having him like maybe for the first 2 or 3 weeks or up into the bye week if none of the other guys can play would not be bad. So
I think if Redmond can't go in week 1, we'll probably go with a committee between Dwyer and Chris Rainey. But moving on to the Packers, Cedric Benson, I believe, signed since the last podcast we did. I think he's obviously going to be the starter, and supposedly there's a chance James Starks could be cut from the Packers. I mean, he can't stay healthy. He's got, I believe, turf toe.
Yep.
And he's been hurt, I believe, since his college days. So, what do you think about that whole situation?
I think if I'm drafting any of the guys, it's going to be Alex Green, even though I guess technically he's third on the depth chart right now. I think he's the best running back that they have. I mean, with Benson, at least you don't have to worry about like injuries and stuff like that. He's been pretty solid. So, I mean, I'm not going to draft Benson for where he's going to be required to be drafted, I should say, because he'll probably require an early pick. And I mean, I guess it's not terrible when you consider the running back position. But I'd rather have Green like really late, because if Benson goes down, I think Green could be pretty decent.
Yep.
Especially in a PPR league.
Oh yeah. Just because Green Bay, even if they have a solid running back in, they're still not going to run the ball very well. I mean, that offense is built around Aaron Rodgers. The Arizona Cardinals, Ryan Williams looked pretty good in his last preseason game. He had, I believe, 5 carries for 25 yards and a touchdown.
I'm definitely taking Williams over Wells at this point.
I'll
go back to the Matthew Berry joke. It's one of my favorite ones that he keeps repeating. But Ryan Williams tore his patella tendon last season. Still healthier than Beanie Wells.
Yep.
So,
as of right now, he actually is healthier than Beanie Wells. I think Wells is supposed to play. Was tonight, actually.
Yeah, they play tonight.
Yep, against the Titans.
In about an hour.
Yep. But like you, I would rather have Williams. I mean, I actually think Ryan Williams could be one of the better flex plays of the entire season. I mean, like I said earlier, I hated that I had to trade him away, but it was for the betterment of my team.
There you go.
Moving on to the Lions, another kind of
this one's
ugly.
bad.
Yeah, another kind of ugly running back situation. Javid Best still having concussion issues. They're probably going to start the season with him on the PUP list, meaning he will miss the first 6 games. Mikel LaShore is actually supposed to make his debut this weekend also. And but he'll be suspended for the first 2 games because of marijuana. And then we also have Kevin Smith, of course.
48-year-old Kevin Smith.
48-year-old Kevin Smith, the pride of the UCF Golden Knights.
There you go.
If I'm going to draft any of these guys, it would be probably Kevin Smith.
Agreed.
Really late. But I would keep my eye on Mikel LaShore, because I do think he's going to end up being the starter.
I think it's going to be kind of like the Packers situation where they're not going to run the ball that much. Although, if you think about it, how awesome would it be if they traded like LaShore and then some other people for MJD? It'd be like the best offense in the NFL.
Oh, yeah.
That'd be sick. I hope they don't do that, though, because I need Calvin Johnson to get as many catches as he can. So
this is true.
But yeah, I agree. I'm taking Kevin Smith a little bit later before I'm taking any of the other guys.
Mm-hmm. I believe that's all I've got for the news.
All right. Well,
for this
we'll
episode.
hop into the Who Would You Rather game. If you're game
Okay.
for that. Once again, I came up with this list right before we started, and Derek has yet to see any of them. So it'll be a little bit better. I'm going to ask him the question between two guys, and he's not picking on who he thinks is better. He's picking based on who he would rather have, basically for skill set and draft position.
Right.
So, looking at my list that I came up with, first question: Run DMC or AP?
Well, that's a tough one.
I know.
Ooh.
I like that one.
Run DMC.
Agreed.
I just call it just pure gut instinct, but I really think this is going to be the year that he breaks out and stays healthy. I said actually in the draft that I recorded that I think at most he'll miss 2 or 3 games. And I know it's like we're beating a dead horse here because I've praised McFadden like in every episode we've done, but neither one clearly is a horrible option, but I would lean more towards McFadden.
I think I'm taking McFadden more or less because I think they have a chance later on in the season to be, like, in the playoff hunt, possibly like a wild card
Because of their
or anything.
division.
Yeah, and I just think that the Vikings won't, so they'll have no reason for AP to still be in the game, getting that many carries. So that's my reason. Next one, this one's actually pretty tough. Stephen Ridley or Sean Green?
You're killing me today,
I
Willis.
know, I've got some good ones.
I would rather take the chance on Stephen Ridley just because Sean Green hasn't really shown me anything, so it's kind of, you don't really know what you're going to get with either one. But I would lean towards Stephen Ridley just because the Patriots have a way better offense than the Jets. And you never know, he could, break a run off for 20 or 30 yards, could get, a goal line carry, could catch some passes out of the backfield. I think he's in a better situation.
I have to go Sean Green because I think, while I agree that obviously the Patriots' offense is better, I think that Sean Green is basically the only running back that they have. I mean, they have that Powell kid and Joe McKnight, but I just think Sean Green will have way more touches on a per-game basis than Stephen Ridley. So, obviously we'd rather not have either guy starting, but
Yeah.
I mean, 6, really deep leagues, The next one we have another pair of running backs, Steven Jackson or Fred Jackson.
Steven Jackson.
I agree.
Because Fred Jackson, he until he got hurt, he was great last year, but C.J. Spiller is also back there. And once Fred Jackson went down, C.J. Spiller kind of broke out in my mind, whereas Steven Jackson's still the guy. So I would feel safer taking Steven Jackson. We've mentioned this before, but he's kind of been given the title of being injury prone, but
He's really not.
yeah, he's really not.
I mean, yeah, he's older, but I mean, also new coach, better
Yep.
running game.
Jeff Fisher loves to run the ball.
And their last preseason game, that offense actually didn't even look that bad. Sam Bradford actually looked competent, like he did his rookie season. And
In a very deep league, Danny Amendola would not be a bad pick.
I would pick him in a 12-team PPR league.
Yep.
I would pick him and I wouldn't even pick him last round. I'd pick him before the last round, before I'm taking some kickers and stuff like that easily. PPR, I think he's going to be a stud. Next one, we'll move on to wide receivers. A.J. Green or Julio Jones? The same questions that we heard last year. I want to see your opinion on it now.
Well, based off of, I guess, draft position, like you mentioned earlier, and plus what I've seen in preseason, I've got to go with Julio. I know I'm being a hypocrite from what I said in one of the earlier episodes, but Julio just the Falcons' offense, I'll say the passing game for the Falcons' offense looks so good right now.
Greatest show on turf, too.
Yep.
I think we're going to be in the minority, but I agree with you on this. You'll get him later.
Yep.
In a PPR league, I think it's definitely Julio.
Yep.
I mean, AJ Green is a stud, but I like Matt Ryan more than I like Andy Dalton, so I'm going to agree with you there. And we have another pair of wide receivers. This one's actually pretty tough. Miles Austin or Vincent Jackson?
Vincent Jackson. Miles Austin, hamstring issues.
I'm going to agree with you there, too.
Tampa Bay, I just think their offense in general is going to be a lot better.
We both think that Freeman will have a bounce-back year.
Yes. I actually, in our main league, I have Freeman as my backup quarterback. And I think he could be the fantasy comeback player of the year. And plus, like I said, Miles Austin, again, with the hamstring issues, has he played at all this preseason?
Nope. I don't think he's going to play at all this preseason.
Yeah. Plus, I'm really high on Des Bryant.
All right. And another pair of receivers. These two are actually on the same team, and it happens to be my team. So I'm wondering, who would you rather between Jeremy Maclin or Deshaun Jackson? For some reason, I have a feeling we're going to disagree on this.
I'm going to say Deshaun Jackson.
Okay, we're going to agree on it then, surprisingly.
It's kind of hard to put into words. I mean, I think Deshaun's looked better in preseason. Plus, Maclin in most drafts will go before Deshaun Jackson.
That's probably my main reason. I think Maclin is overall clearly a better receiver. I just think Deshaun Jackson will bounce back this year. As long as Vic can stay healthy, and even if Vic doesn't stay healthy, I think Nick Foles will be the backup quarterback. And
Foles has looked good.
And that seems to be the guy he looks to. And Deshaun Jackson has caught, this preseason 2 passes over the middle, and that's 2 more than he has in his entire career. So I think he's got that contract, and now he's honestly playing to win now, and I think he wants to prove that he can be good. I think at the end of the year, I think if it's PPR, I think I'd rather have Maclin. I'd rather take a flyer on Maclin. Mm-hmm. But I think I'd rather just take Deshaun Jackson after Jeremy Maclin. I think he's going an entire round later. So, all right. And now we have a pair of tight ends. Jason Witten or Brandon Pettigrew?
Well, if you'd asked me before the injury, I easily would have said Jason Witten.
It would have, but now he ruptured his spleen and everything. So,
just because of the injury, I'll say Pettigrew. We don't know how long Witten's going to be out. I mean, he's aiming to come back in the season opener, but I don't think that's going to happen just because it's an organ injury. You don't know how long that's going to take to heal. I mean, he could miss a month and a half for all we know.
I think I'm still going to take a flyer on Witten. Generally, I'm not. It doesn't really matter to me what tight end I draft. It's one of the positions that I know it can either win or lose you a league, but I think Witten's obviously better. I think the targets will be there, and until I know for a fact he won't be back for the first week or two, then I'd rather take him and then pick up somebody else off waivers, Selleck or somebody like that to fill in for him.
Yep.
Next two, we have a pair of young tight ends, Kyle Rudolph or Coby Fleener.
That one's really tough too. I have been hearing good things about Kyle Rudolph.
I have too, but I think I'm going Fleener.
Yeah, I would say Fleener just because of the chemistry between him and Luck.
Yep, I think Andrew Luck's going to get a chance to air the ball out. I think they'll end up with a better record than last year, and I think they're going to want Luck to throw it as many times as he can, so he'll be prepared, for future and everything like that. So I think I'm taking Fleener in that situation.
I agree.
And then we have 2 quarterbacks now, Andy Dalton or Joe Flacco.
Ugh.
That one's really tough, too.
Yeah.
The next one's probably the worst out of all of them. The next question is really hard.
Wow.
I'm going to say Flacco.
Yeah. just because I like Torrey Smith this year. He's kind of their version of Mike Wallace. And Flacco, I mean, I don't like the Ravens by any means, but when it comes to throwing the deep ball, Joe Flacco is up towards the top of the list as far as guys that can throw it deep. So I think, he's gonna throw the ball a little bit more this year. I mean, the offense is still going to run through Ray Rice, but I do think that Flacco will get more opportunities to, do some more risky deep throws.
Yeah, I mean, I kind of like Anquan Bolden, too, as at least a solid receiver for Flacco. I mean, I think clearly Dalton has the best receiver of the two teams.
Yes.
So, I mean, that helps him a little bit. But I'm still kind of worried about the sophomore slump and everything. And I think Flacco, even if you look like the offense runs through Ray Rice, a lot of Ray Rice's yards come from, catching the ball. So,
Yep.
out of the backfield, screen passes and everything, that just makes me like Flacco better. I think he's more stable. And we'll go to the last one. I'm really interested to hear you answer this one. Mark Sanchez or John Skelton, who was supposed to be the starter for opening day?
Skelton. He has Larry Fitzgerald.
I agree.
Besides Santonio
I do
Holmes,
not like Mark Sanchez at all. I don't like that offense at all this year.
No.
Oh, I think Rex Ryan will get fired after the season.
Yep. Yeah, to me it's John Skelton, just because he's got one of the top 3 receivers in the game.
Agreed.
But you want to head to the questions now?
Yeah, we'll do some questions.
Okay. These first 2 questions are from the Yahoo message board. The first question is from Kevin. No fancy username, just Kevin.
I like that.
Okay. Should I accept this trade offer? I would be giving Matt Forte and Isaac Redman, and in exchange, I would be getting MJD and Mike Wallace.
I think it's funny that one guy drafted both MJD and Wallace.
I know, but I wouldn't give up Matt Forte. I mean,
that one's tough. That's tough. I don't even factor in Redmond in this pretty much at all, but getting MJD and Wallace, that's Mike Wallace, right?
yes.
Okay. That's
Actually,
I think I would trade. I would make that trade. It would depend on who you have as depth, I guess, but I would make a trade. I think MJD will eventually play. We know Wallace is going to report. It sucks giving up Forte, but depending on if you have 2 or 3 decent fill-ins at running back, then I think the risk, I think the reward outweighs the risk on that one. I think.
yeah.
That
I think
one's tough though. That's a good question.
If you have the running back depth, then I would take it. But if Forte's your only decent running back, then I personally wouldn't. But that's just me.
I think I wouldn't either. If your backup running backs are kind of sketchy and iffy, then I wouldn't. So, but if you have somebody who can fill in, I think you should.
Yeah, it just depends on your lineup. The second Yahoo question is from B, just the letter B.
Some good names this week.
Who would you rather have in a standard scoring league, Greg Olsen or Jacob Tammy?
Tammy.
I
think Olsen's going to be good this year, though.
Yep.
But I think I'd rather have Tammy just because Peyton's there.
Yep. I don't really have anything to add to that. I completely agree, though.
Peyton.
Greg Olsen would not be a bad bye-week filler at all.
Yeah, don't sleep on Olsen. Especially if you missed on tight ends early and you need one really late in some leagues where they start 2 tight ends or have tight ends as flex. Don't pass him up too much.
Yep. All right, and this next set of questions is from the same guy.
All right, and this is actually on the channel, right?
Yes, from the YouTube channel. It's from Tiger X5LV. Question number 1: if you had the number 5 pick overall, who would you take between these two, Tom Brady or Calvin Johnson?
I'll let you answer first. I want to hear your answer.
I would take Brady.
Okay.
Just because if you're picking between those two, absolutely. I mean, Calvin Johnson would be really tough to pass up, but wide receiver is ridiculously deep, and you can get a receiver, in the 3rd, 4th rounds that would be not as good, but according to rankings, you could get a top receiver in the 3rd round, whereas you couldn't get a top-tier quarterback after the 1st.
I think before some of the preseason games, I would have agreed with you, But after watching Megatron like last week or 2 weeks ago, he is literally, when you tier out the players, he is in a tier by himself. He's number one. Then you start with Larry Fitz and like Andre Johnson, and they're tier two. I say Megatron here because think about it. You take Megatron, the guy next to you takes Brady. Whatever week y'all play, as long as you have like a quarterback, which you probably won't get Stafford or Newton, but if you can get somebody, like even if you wait till late, like Matt Ryan, to put up like 25 points to where Brady gets like 30 points, and then you match up your receivers and like Megatron against whoever that guy has, you think that Calvin Johnson is going to completely smash the other guy. So looking at it like that, I would say Megatron just because he's clearly elite, and I would rather take a quarterback later.
Yeah,
personally, but I think Brady's going to be really good this year. They can't run the ball, so they're going to have to throw it. So,
this is also like a Calvin Johnson tidbit. Did you hear about his goal for the season?
No, it should be don't get hurt. That's what I think.
He wants to have 100 receiving yards a game.
I'm totally down for that if he wants to. Just saying. It's so possible is what's funny. Because
he's taller than pretty much every corner in the league, and all Stafford has to do is just throw it high and he can jump up and grab it.
I mean, he's so good. So good.
It's really exciting to watch him. Like, if a Lions game is on and the Lions have the ball, I will watch it just to see what Calvin Johnson will do.
Literally, he is a freak.
Yes, he is.
He's literally just a freak.
Mm-hmm. But speaking of the Patriots not being able to run the ball, his next question is, what are your thoughts on Stephen Ridley?
I don't like any of their running backs. I just don't.
Yeah, if he's there, kind of late and you just want depth, then I like him over Shane Vereen. But I would avoid the Patriots, Packers, Redskins. I would avoid that entire running back field, if possible.
I think they have a little bit more value, the Patriots running backs too, in a PPR league, because that's literally the only way their running backs are going to get yards, I think, is like screen passes. So they have a little bit more value there, but I'd rather not have any of them, honestly.
Yeah. Next question. When would you draft Adrian Peterson?
Right after Run DMC.
Yep. Based off
I think before Jamal Charles, and then after DMC and Forte.
Yep.
I like AP this year. I mean, the only problem is I don't like the Vikings, so that's basically the only issue. But he's a freak too. He's so good.
Yeah, I mentioned this in the draft I did. I would rather have an AP that's 80% healthy than most of the other running backs in the league, just because he's that good. Yeah, I would. If he was there in the early to mid second, I would take him then. I
think if you're going to draft AP in like one of the later rounds, you need to reach for Toby Gerhart. I think that's like a thing that you need to do, because he either gets hurt or they start to lose and they're not going to want him to play anymore and let him rest. So I think that you may need to do that, which, I mean, Matthew Berry says the same thing, and I really agree with him on that. That's like one of the most important handcuffs, I think, in my opinion.
Yep. And his last question is, if Darren McFadden gets injured, who would be his backup, Tywan Jones or Mike Goodson?
If you've watched the preseason games, I think it's going to be Tywan Jones.
Yes.
Mike Goodson has fumbled twice, and I believe it's once per game, I think, and like limited carries or something like that. I think Mike Goodson's better. I think he has more ability to be like a goal line back, but now DMC is supposedly the goal line back and everything.
Yeah.
But I think
Jones has shown he can be more explosive.
Yep. I just think that with Goodson like fumbling the ball, I think that they'll give Tywan Jones his spot and they'll let him be back up.
Yep, I would agree with that, and pretty much everything you said there. That's it for the questions this week.
So yeah, we actually kept it below 40 minutes. That's good.
Oh wow,
we did good.
Sweet.
But we'll go into bold predictions now. So far, I'm pretty much I've at least already got one of them wrong, because because I don't think Ryan Matthews will be the number one guy now since he's going to miss 3 games or 2 games. So I already got that one wrong. But anyway, Derek, what's your bold prediction?
You're going to have to go first because I really have no idea.
All right. My bold prediction is that Michael Turner will not have the least amount of receptions in the NFC South.
Will not have the least amount of receptions.
As the starting running back in the NFC South. And that's saying a lot because they do not throw the ball to Michael Turner.
This
ever.
is very true. Yeah.
And I think that the thing is, a part of it, I guess is kind of a cop-out because if you look at the starting running backs for the Panthers, they don't, you never know who's going to start there. But they do catch the ball a lot. So, I think there will be some team that will just strictly, will run the ball a little bit more than they have. And I think that Michael Turner will not have the least amount of catches coming out of the backfield in the NFC South. Pretty sure I'm going to be wrong about it, but that's my bold prediction. I think he's going to catch some passes this year. That's basically me saying that, because it's PPR, don't worry about Michael Turner too much. We both are low on Michael Turner.
Yeah.
But don't, if he's there in a really good late round and you're in a PPR league, don't be worried too much about the whole pass catching thing, is what I'm trying to say.
I really don't know what I'm going to say for my bold prediction. All right, I've got one.
All right.
Okay, we both agree that Ryan Williams will be the starter for the Cardinals at some point, right?
Yes.
It may not be week 1, but we both think it'll be pretty early.
Yes.
In the preseason. Despite the Cardinals, offensive line, which is in question.
Yes.
Ryan Williams, top 15 running back.
That's pretty high up there. I don't think he'll be top 15. It's possible. I think Beanie Wells will still be there to vulture some carries away because they're not going to want to overexert Ryan Williams, but it's definitely bold.
That may be a little too bold, but I said, I'm kind of at a loss for.
Yours has a better chance than mine, probably. So.
Oh, you never know.
But yeah, I guess that's pretty much it. You have anything else to say? Or?
That's pretty much it. Hopefully no one from either of our fantasy teams gets hurt this weekend. Well, hopefully no more of your players get hurt.
That's more or less right. But yeah, thanks guys for listening. Remember to comment with some more questions, rate, subscribe, all those
I do have one thing. Originally we were going to co-host our Yahoo draft we did.
Yeah.
Willis and I did another league, but Willis got called into work, so I had to record it solo. Be sure to check that out. Hopefully you'll get some good advice from it. It's got some interesting commentary.
So you think I should upload this podcast before that?
It doesn't matter.
All right. I'll try to upload them pretty close to each other. I'll probably do this first and then that other one. So
it doesn't matter.
All right.
It doesn't matter.
But yeah, definitely check that out. Comment, rate, sub. Leave us some questions. Make sure to check out the Yahoo message boards where me or Derek will post some ask away threads and hopefully get some questions from you guys. So yeah. Anyway, thanks for listening.
Peace out.